The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
With early detection comes early prevention.
But letting your pencil make you feel like a champion.
Rise up again, let nothing keep you down. Live your best. Hear the urologist speak. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Think you're losing grip of your manhood. Don't give up on hope.
Don't be ashamed. It's time to take control. Get some help from the urologist.
You will find
He'll help you solve your problems
on 96.9. Yeah.
I telling you, with early detection
Comes early prevention.
but letting your pencil make you feel like a champion.
Rise up again.
Let nothing keep you down. Live your best.
Good evening, Bahamas. This is Urologist Speaks with Bahamian urologist Dr. Greggory Pinto. My co-host this evening is business consultant Dr. Ian Fernander, and our guest of honor. And I hope this is part one of a series with this gentleman who really needs no introduction. He's a household name. Even from his voice, everybody knows who it is. Welcome back to NASA Guardian 96.9 FM, Mr. Juan McCartney.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Doc. Good to be here. Good to be here with you.
And thanks for being here, Dr. Ian Fernander.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, so we're going to talk a lot. We're going to be led by the veteran radio host, Mr. McCartney. When's the last time you've been on the radio?
Well, I wouldn't presume to take over your show, but...
I think it'll naturally happen.
Okay. I was on the radio a few months ago, just as part of my job with IRCA, but I haven't hosted a show in over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's been a while. There's some rust on the wheels, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, I was inspired a decade ago by you and by Dwight Strawn to get my own radio show.
Absolutely. I listen quite frequently.
So, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by the number of persons who tell me that every day, all day.
Absolutely.
So a few inspirational quotes will give us a hint at what we're hopefully going to speak about. Bad government officials are elected by good citizens who don't vote. The greatest threat to democracy is indifference. And that's a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt. We're going to talk about health as well. We're going to talk the health journey. You're the picture of health.
Thank you. I'll take it.
I'll say from when I knew you a decade ago,
It's vastly different.
you're
right.
you're the after photo now.
Right.
You're the
right,
after
right,
photo now.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about your life journey, and Dr. Ian Fernando has a similar journey where he's also looking fit as a fiddle, and I know he wasn't always that way. So we'll talk about all of those things as we hit middle age, and all of us hope for longevity, and we hope we do reach those years, and inevitably our body starts to break down. So a healthy life means a happy life. A happy life means a healthy life. Those who do not find time for exercise will have to find time for illness, and that's quoted by Edward Smith. So, Juan, let's talk about your health journey as you're nearing middle age, 50 years old. How did you turn things around?
Well, I turned things around about a decade ago. My kids then were quite young. Time really flies. Yeah, my kids then were toddlers. I have another toddler now. That's tell you how fast time flies. My kids then were toddlers. I was near 300 pounds. I was, 40 years old. I was turning 40. I just felt terrible, just in general. And I thought to myself, I really shouldn't feel this way. It had been about a decade or so since I was in any sort of fighting shape. I just decided that I was going to change the trajectory of my health. I had hypertension, really bad hypertension. I was on a lot of medication. I still have hypertension, but it's manageable now. And it just was through sheer will and diet and exercise that I dropped 80 pounds, and I was able to really turn my life around and set myself on a path that to this day I remain healthy. There have been some ups and downs. There have been some things that diet and exercise alone couldn't accomplish, but it was just through sheer will. What's interesting is when I started my health journey, it wasn't too long after that my wife followed, and we kind of been each other's inspiration ever since through all the ups and downs, and an additional child. So,
And then, Dr. Ian Fernandez, you are quite open about your health journey as well. And we spoken weeks ago that you were also 300 pounds at one point. And now you are, the word is slender and muscular, I think.
Yeah.
You definitely don't look your age.
Yeah, definitely.
So you also had to go through a uphill battle. You said you didn't really feel 300 pounds, but
No.
looking back at it, you can see it in the pictures
Yeah,
and everything else. But
definitely.
do you feel healthier now?
Oh yeah. And the wake up call for me was when I was issued a CPAC machine, and the very first night I had to put that thing on. You know, the devil and the angel says no. This can't be what you're going to be doing.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been even 200 pounds, and I pray I'll never even be over 200 pounds. But what is life one for a 300 pounder? I mean, do you feel tired all the time? Is walking
Oh,
up
yeah.
the stairs? Do you,
Yeah, you're tired, you're winded, you have low energy all the time. You're really just a shadow of yourself. You're a shell, like you're inside this shell that you don't really recognize, and you feel like you're moving this huge body that's not really you, but it is you. And then you go and you get your physical, and you get all your blood results, and your cholesterol is high, your lipids are high, your blood pressure is high, and your testosterone gets lower because you have problems sleeping, and you don't have the energy, you're not working out, you don't really have that lean muscle mass. And so you just feel like a shell of what you should feel like. And I particularly felt that way in my late 30s, and I really and I felt that way for so long that you start to believe that it's normal. And what you're feeling is just the status quo for men out there. And until you make a change, you really don't understand like how much better the quality of your life should be. But it really takes work, particularly being a Bahamian man. Our diet's terrible. We get really lulled into bad habits, particularly when you start having kids. You don't make time to even do something as simple as take a walk around the neighborhood. And your quality of life really starts to drop. And that was my focus beyond losing weight, beyond having healthy indicators on my physicals. It was really my quality of life, like feeling like I was actually living and alive. Yeah.
So how did you find time between family and work for you?
I would do it first thing in the morning. So when everyone was still asleep, I would wake up 5 o'clock. I still actually wake up around 5:30, and I would go walking. I would go to the gym. I had a long talk with my wife about wanting to actually take some personal time to really change how I lived, and she was very encouraging. That's one of the big factors. You need support. She hired a trainer for me for a month. And he kind of showed me the ropes. I bought a gym membership, and after she paid for that first month, I paid for the rest of it. She was very encouraging, but I had to take it like first thing in the morning. I had to decide I'm going to go to bed earlier. I'm going to stop some of these bad habits. I would eat a full meal and then go to sleep. I drank quite a bit back then. I've stopped drinking entirely. It took me a long time. But, I had to cut back on a lot of that and really change the way I lived in order to have a better quality of life. And it's very difficult. It doesn't seem like it's something that you can do of your own will and volition, but it's something that you have to make an active choice to do, or it's not going to get done.
It's interesting that you said that because you have to have a starting point.
Correct.
You can't have a wishing point.
No.
Some people do a lot of wishing and they don't start. You have a starting point. And I think having that point, I did the same thing that you're talking about. So, you know what? I'm going to get up at 5.
Yeah.
And I have no distractions, and that's what I'm going to devote my time to.
Correct.
And that's the starting point. You have to find a starting point somewhere.
Absolutely. And you think you're alone, but what happens is you wake up at 5 and you go to the gym and it's packed full of people at 5 o'clock in the morning. Or I live out east. I would go on. I would just jog. I started walking, but then I would ultimately jog, and I would jog down Village Road, around Montague, and there's lots of people trying to achieve the same thing. But when you're just stuck in this rut, you feel like you're alone, but there's no way out of it.
When you mentioned walking, you mentioned going to the gym, but when we look at the state of our country, which is crime-ridden,
Correct.
where criminality reigns supreme, where someone coming out of a gym out east is shot in broad daylight at 9 a.m., where persons are accosted and just walking 5 o'clock in the morning, even in groups, by wayward young men in black caps and ski masks and putting guns on them. And
Correct.
we're afraid to go out of our house no matter what time, and then that affects our ability to go and exercise. Because even you, as a man, if you're going to go out and exercise, you're leaving your wife and your kids at home.
Yep.
That in itself is fearful, and that also might put a fear in your own wife. And we're prisoners of our own circumstance, where crime is out of control. So we want to talk a little bit about that from your perspective. Even riding a bike. I know, Dr. Ian Fernandez, you said you were knocked down by riding a bike. The way persons drive on these streets, they have no regard for any laws or any life means nothing to them. They'll overtake a line of traffic of 30 cars going the wrong way and then take a left in front of somebody else, and they don't care who they hit. And I've seen that every single day coming home. And a lot of times there are children in the back seat, and you can see those children are not even restrained with a seatbelt. Where do you think, over the years you being on the radio and you have your hand on the pulse of the community, where do you think our country is headed in terms of crime?
Right. Well, thankfully, it's been going down. But as you said, someone just got shot dead in front of a gym. And the gym I referenced, it's that exact same gym that I started going to when I started this journey. You can get shot dead at the gym. You can get shot dead in your home. But you really can't give up hope. I think that our country is going to head in the direction that those of us who take personal responsibility for ourselves and then our communities will actually allow it to go. And so it's going to be the values that we actually try to instill in everyone out there and the accountability that you try to have as a society. So when I was on the talk show, part of the accountability process for me and the venting process for me was to talk about how badly people drive in the Bahamas, which unfortunately not much has changed. But it was part of the accountability process every day, making sure that we were at least talking about what is actually the reality and trying to make people accountable. As far as communities go, as far as the Bahamas go, it's going to be community by community. And the health journey for me was was one of the last pieces of the puzzle to trying to have a holistically better life. All right. So the first piece of the puzzle was trying to have a stable home life, try to get married, try to have children. As expensive as that is, as detrimental as a lot of things in society are to actually having a family, you got to work more than one job for most of us. You got to go without some things, but you try to build that family unit, take care of your own house, take care of your own yard, and then you start to build outward. You start to get to know your neighbors, make sure that your house is clean, your surroundings are clean. Talk to your neighbors. If they're criminals, you need to report them to the police, right? And you can't have a healthy relationship with criminals, all right? Not in the state that they're in. Talk to your neighbors and then start to build your own community. Start to build your street and then start to build beyond that. I'm fortunate. The area where I live in is not so crime-ridden, but we have had home invasions. We've had break-ins, car break-ins. There was just a guy who was doing serial break-ins, and the police eventually caught him. But for months and months, he was out here breaking into cars, breaking into homes where he could. My wife was petrified, but it's a risk. But you can't give up on your community. And where the Bahamas is headed will be determined by where we allow it to go.
You mentioned something that I have a question about. How do you think, because I think this is important, how do you think we encourage more young men to become family men? Because it really grounds you when you're a family man. When you know that you have this responsibility, it makes you more responsible. It makes you understand that you now have to be accountable for who you are, and you have to be a person who can support a family, whatever all of the attributes is required for that. But we do have a lot of young men and even women who see family life as the last thing on the list, if it's on the list at all.
Yeah, correct. So the young men will ultimately make up their own minds where they want to go, but 9 times out of 10, the young men will follow the older men. They'll follow their role models. They'll follow the men in their lives who step up and who show them some example of what a man should be. Well, the problem is with a lot of young men out here, and this is no disrespect to women, but they don't have sensible men in their lives to show them how men actually act. They're in fatherless homes, and even if you don't have your father in your home, there are a lot of instances where you just need a male figure in your life to help you understand how responsible men act, and a lot of young men do not have that. And it really is going to be
Well,
incumbent
let
upon
me
us
let
to
me
step
let
in.
me speak from the other side. That you may have a father in your life, but your father is telling you, go and have 6 women, go have as many children as you can.
Right.
Don't take responsibility for any of them.
Right.
Every woman is a conquest. Never
Right.
give your heart to any of them. Where's our country
Right.
headed when? And that's the state of affairs for so many families, so many
Right.
homes.
That's a complete recipe for disaster. It's a complete and total recipe for disaster and a lack of responsibility. And unfortunately, that's what's happened a lot. A lot of men have been out here and fathered these children and don't take care of the children. And those of us who have some sense of responsibility have to pick up the slack. And so it's a very challenging thing to do. And we're taking up the burden for a lot of men who've totally abandoned that.
And then a lot of these women get on the tract that they had their mothers went on. They had a child at 17 with the wrong man who abandoned them, and then they feel that don't have any value in life, and no man is ever going to want them. So they use their body to try to get their bills paid, and then they try to hook and land another man by having another child, and then that doesn't go well. And then by the time they're 25, they got 4 kids for 4 different men, and they're going nowhere. And that is so common in this society.
Yeah.
And that is just a dagger to the future of our country.
Absolutely. And at some point, you got to break the cycle or you're going to spiral. So if you're a young lady and you had a child at 17, things happen, right? Life happens. The key to it is to pivot from there, right? And so you're not going to have the life that you want or the life for your children that you want them to have if you continue to have children that you cannot support. And a problem in this country is that we've not had the courage to actually say that out loud. And those who have said it out loud have been accused of shaming people and been accused of judging people. But the fact is that society wasn't built to work that way. Society was built to work with people being able to manage the families that they have. So, for instance, you talk about a woman with 4 children. My grandmother had 11 children.
So did mine. My maternal grandmother had 11 children.
You see what I'm saying? And
Mine at 15.
correct. And they, all of them, and this was in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, all of them got a high school education. Almost all of them got a college education. None of them ended up in prison. And my grandmother herself did not complete high school, nor did my grandfather. All right? So,
Well, I'll say my maternal grandfather, I think, went to grade 1 and had to teach himself how to read. My maternal grandmother went to grade 5. And when you talk about grade 5 in those years, they weren't really teaching anything. And they had 11 children, and all of them went to university.
Correct.
And they're all
Right.
productive members
Right.
of society. So
it tells you it's not a function of
It's not a function at all.
the circumstances that we're in. It's a function of our
So
behavior.
obviously, we can say without reservation that both of you are successful men, and you've had successful careers. I'll
take it.
Where do you think you would be, Dr. Fernando, than Dr. and Mr. McCartney, if you didn't have that wife, that support system in your life, that guidance?
Well, I tell you the beautiful thing about having a wife, a partner, a friend, a sort of warrior on your side is that, one, you are no longer in this world where you are saying anything goes. You have to reckon with, I've got to do the best. You have to find places in yourself that you probably would not have even looked for if you didn't have that sort of thing on that pushes you. And a lot of men don't understand the value of that. And two, some of us get hitched to carriages that are, they're weights and not carriages. So you also have to, it's not magical that if you're married it's going to work. You have to you have to make sure that that it's a good partnership. It's not just something you're doing for that.
Well, I can say probably the most important thing that you can do in your life is to marry the right person.
Correct.
Because it can be a disaster the other way. Good evening, this is Urologist Speaks. We have a call. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
A pleasant good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Hey, isn't it Sparky? Is that you?
Hold on, don't do that now.
Don't just out you like that.
Don't do it this night.
Your voice is as recognizable as mine, perhaps.
What I'm really trying to do. Hello?
I'm here, yeah.
What I'm really trying to... Most of the time, everybody say you only 30 seconds to talk. It tells Sparky I got 30 seconds to talk.
Okay. It's not my show. You can that's up to Dr. Pinto.
These talk shows.
Go ahead,
I've
sir.
been here from talk shows started up on ZNS 10 o'clock on a Monday night, Steve McKinney and Piper Forbes. It's called a speaker.
Okay.
It came down, and then it came down that we had something called, everybody had these little phones in their car called Citizen Band, CBC. So we used to talk on our shows, down our phones to one another. In the night, all the family that would be going out in the driveway and things, since you can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then Steve McKinney them take up talk show. And then when Hubert Ingram came into power, he opened up the airwaves. And then Jones and them and Sparky and JT and Popper and all of us, they call us chronic callers. Everybody used to listen, and we was talking about all the things you're still talking about today. The illegal immigrants, we was talking about that way back. Hello, are you still there?
Yes,
Yes,
yes. So do you think that problem has gotten worse than all the other problems we are speaking about?
The problem is sometimes the producer who listens to me, sometimes they cut me off.
No one's going to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And then we moved to this and that and the next. And guess what? Today, we are still talking about the same thing. I see people become 30 degree Prince on Masons and Elks and this and that and that.
Yes.
Pinlin and Avian and all them. I was a 22-year-old. And when I went into Prince on Masons, I started to put blood mass to the blood bank.
Yes. And 74 now, correct, sir?
74.
All right.
I tell them I'm coming back to Prince Hall the first Monday and next month. I want them all to be ready when Sparky come back. But let me tell you what I told Prince Hall Mason. I said, you got 3-story buildings up there, but when you get old, you can't walk up the steps.
Yes, sir.
I told them from then, put an elevator, escalator, whatever it is, so the old people in the coffins can get up there. Guess what? Today, at 74 years old, I tell my coming back, I tell the grandmaster, the great-grandmaster, I coming back on the 9th of March. I said, how am I going to get up on the 3rd floor? They tell me if we have to lift you on our shoulders, Sparky, with your walking chair, we can bring him. I say, well, why are you telling me that now? I tell you, I didn't have to go up there like that. You're supposed to have the elevator.
You've led an interesting life, and I thank you very much for your call and your interesting comments, sir. So this is a very important year for the Bahamas. Obviously, every year is important, but it's an election year. I always try to make this an apolitical show. I don't favor either political party, positively or negatively. I like to speak about the issues that are facing Bahamians, and I'm here as a Bahamian who loves his country, volunteering his time. I get nothing out of this time, neither does Dr. Ian Fernando or obviously our guests such as Mr. Juan McCartney. But the democratic process, you need to play a role in the democratic process. I want to talk a little bit, gentlemen, about voter apathy, particularly among young persons who seem to have no interest in the future of this country. I'll even talk a little bit about brain drain and so many persons feeling that the only future is to get out of the Bahamas and never look back. and obviously they're not going to take a vested interest in the voting process. It's not the perfect government system where you are basically voting for a political party that you want to see in power. No matter who they put before you, you're going to vote essentially for the political party or the leader that you want to see leading the country, which is a shame because not every political party is going to put a good candidate before you. What do you think about voter apathy, Mr. Juan McCartney?
I think it's actually, and what we've seen in the past couple of elections, by-elections in particular, and the last general election, I think it's a bit frightening. So there are democracies in the Caribbean that function just fine with very low voter turnout. Jamaica, they won the JLP, I believe, won the last election, lost quite a few seats, but there was 34%, I believe, was the turnout. In Barbados, they had less than 40% turnout. And
we are usually pretty good, 70, 80%.
Yeah, we were
except
hitting,
for
yeah.
the COVID year.
Yeah, the COVID was
done very
terrible.
well.
Yeah, we were
And
under
the
65%.
The recent by-election was very poor turnout
and they were
as well.
really bad. And
Yeah.
it used to be that people in the Bahamas were excited to vote and really, jealously guarded this right that we have to vote. And it seems to be slipping. I could be wrong about that in the next general election. Could prove me wrong on that, but it does seem to be the trend that we're headed toward. And it's not just something that I see in the polls. It's something that you feel out there when you talk to people, particularly young people. They are just not interested in voting because they don't think it matters. And I do get that, but the right to vote, and we don't do a good job of telling young people about this. So, and I don't mean to even make this racial, but the right to vote for people like us, and it's not even racial per se, it's also socioeconomic. The right to vote for people of color, the right to vote for women, the right to vote for people who did not own land is something that we just got in the last few decades. So it's something that just happened in the late 50s and that we were able to exercise in the 60s in full force. So it's something that my parents did not have when they were born. And it's not something that they just forked over to us. It's something that we fought for very, very hard. That a lot of Bahamian men and women fought for. We fought for independence. We fought for this right for representative government. And to relinquish it is dangerous. All right? And you surrender your power to a select few who are more than likely directly influenced by those who control politics, whether it's money or whether it's the representatives. And for the average person who does not care so much about which political party is in power, but more about the people and the actions of the people in power, we cannot allow the minority, which it is the minority, those who are directly influenced by politicians and those who fund the politicians, you cannot let that minority control your destiny.
Well, I'm still dumbfounded and perplexed why in 2021, why an election was called early when COVID was at its heights, where we were all battened down, where there was an allowance where persons who were actually in quarantine were allowed to come in line with the general public. It made no sense to me. If the government cares about you and cares about the people and cares about the health of the people and want the persons of all ages, even the elderly or the infirmed or the sick, to go and vote, why are you going to call an election at a time that was not necessary? We're extremely unpopular. I don't understand. And I think a lot of persons were disheartened. I think a lot of the opposition support went away because of that decision. And I think that's caused turmoil in opposition right now because of that and many other decisions.
So keep in mind what you just mentioned, right? That an election was called when there were still emergency orders in place. There was still social distancing mandates in place. So what happened surrounding that election? Well, let's backtrack a bit. First of all, it was a political calculation to call an election at that time. It was clearly a bad calculation, as you can see from the outcome. But let's look at what happened during that election cycle. There were no rallies. All right. So it would have been this year will have made about 10 years.
Yes.
since we've had huge political national rallies. So you've influenced people's behavior. COVID rewired how a lot of people work, and it really impacted a lot of young people. So there's a generation of people who are not used to seeing packed, crowded rallies that we would have seen in, say, 2017, when there was a sea of people. It's been a decade since we've seen that, right? And so people have grown accustomed not to doing it. You have a generation of people who, when they would have had the opportunity to vote for the first time, they simply didn't do it.
Yes.
And then we've been having flip-flopping of one party in, one party out. Do you think it's more voting one party out than voting another party in?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's the voting out thing.
We have a call coming in. Sorry for the wait. Good evening. This is Urologist Speaks.
Good evening. I enjoy your show weekly.
Good evening.
Mr. McCartney, I agree with your sentiments in regards to the young people, and I want to add something to that as well, because it's like I've spoken to a lot of young people in the past few months from last year, and their perception of everything is that a lot of persons who are in politics do a lot of illegal stuff, and then their illegal businesses is turned into a legitimate business. And the proceeds from that illegal business is now funding legitimate businesses. So that's where you see all the crime and the terrorism and all the stuff happening in the Bahamas. They feel like they'll be the next one to turn their stuff around and be legitimate. You understand? And you have one party that persons don't care what they do. I spoke to someone yesterday. I didn't say what the party is, but you should know. I said, if this person was a pedophile, you would vote for them. That's what the person said. There's a pedophile that leader with a pedophile, they'll still vote for them.
Wow.
You understand? So that's the party lines and the following, not being leaders, but being followers of just color. You understand? And that's where this country is right now. That's where it's going. In regards to the previous administration, I was living in Grand Bahama at the time when they had the pandemic and they had the hurricane. You understand? And it was I don't understand how this government today still talks about the previous administration when no government in the history of the Bahamas has ever dealt with anything like that. Not even close to that in a 5-year period, in a 5-year span. So what would you expect them to do? The only thing I grant him wrong is he called an early election before he actually opened the country up. You understand? And he was a very arrogant leader. And that's what caused him the whole election, his arrogance. Telling people 1 minute after 12, you will lock them up and all this type of stuff. People remember these things. You understand? And it's troubling to me right now. A lot of young people who are supposed to be happy and elated to vote for the first time, they don't want to vote. You got the old stalwarts still looking at color and they ain't caring for their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren. All they worrying about is what they're getting right now. Until Bahamians start caring about other Bahamians, this will never stop. And it will be a continuous, every year, for every 5 years, everyone voting for what they believe in and what they want to happen for themselves, and not the whole entirety of the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. Thank you for taking my call.
I think you made some brilliant points, and you speak for many of us. Yes, I agree. There are many of the stalwarts are more concerned of what they can get in that moment, and they don't care about what is the future that they're going to leave behind. They're not going to be here forever. When they're dead and gone, they're leaving a legacy and a country and a future for their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and that should be more important than whatever money they can get or whatever land deal or backdoor deal or money they can get for their half a dozen sweethearts. It's more important to life than that. It's the future of our country, and we all pay for our sins. We're all going to go before God and answer for what we did and what we didn't do. And I think a lot of these older stalwarts should realize that this is supposed to be a God-fearing country. You should put God first, put the country first, not themselves. And that goes for both sides. As I said, I'm apolitical. I see good and bad in both. We'll speak more about this interesting talk with Dr. Ian Fernander and the legend, Mr. Juan McCartney. This is Urologist Speaks.
City of Miami Gardens presents YTG Music Fest. Janae Aiko, Ludacris, Ashanti, Nelly, Glorilla, LMA, Maya, Joe, D Nice and Friends, featuring SWV, Donnell Jones, Case, Sunshine Anderson, and Kenny Burns, Isley Brothers, El DeBarge, Stephanie Mills, and so many more. March 7th and 8th, Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets and info at jazzinthegardens.com. Jazzinthegardens.com.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Always on the go? Missed a show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is the Urologist Speaks. This is Dr. Greggory Pinto, Bahamian Urologist. I have business consultant Dr. Ian Fernander, and we have back in the studio after a nearly 3-year absence, Mr. Juan McCartney. Welcome, gentlemen, again. So we're talking about issues that are affecting the country that we love, and we're trying to improve the future of our country. We were talking about our health journey. Now we were just talking a little bit about voter apathy. I think there, on both political sides, there are some leaders who enjoy the fact there's voter apathy because they don't want young people to vote because they know young people are going to ask too many questions. Young people are probably going to go against the grind. They'd rather have their persons in place to just vote, even if the turnout is 20%. That 20% will probably put them back in power if they empower everybody to ask questions, to think about their future. They may not win the next election. What do you think about political debates? Don't you think that we've gone beyond the years of pom-poms and handing out collects and $100 bills and rallies where people are shouting and trying to rile up people, but they're not speaking about any substance. They're not talking about the issues. They're not talking about how they're going to what's the 20-year plan for the Bahamas? What's the 5-year plan for the Bahamas? How are we going to change things for the better for every individual in the country?
So I don't have a problem with rallies. I think that they serve their purposes for political parties. I think the problem arises when it's just rallies. And there's no balance to it. There's no actual intellectual debate and exchange of ideas, and people get to test what their policies are against one another. I've tried for years and years and years. I was in journalism for 20 years to organize public political debates in the country, and you just would not get buy-in from all the political parties. It was extremely difficult, even though they would come on a talk show and they would talk to you one-on-one. You may get 2 participants, but you would never get all the players on one stage to really talk about the quality of their ideas, which I found exceedingly strange, because if you look at the House of Assembly, they do it all the time. They have these debates without a problem. They talk to each other. There are rules set out, as there would be in a public debate, and we offered for them to help set the rules and to set the terms of the debate, and they just would not do it. And I never could understand why they wouldn't get there.
I think in this society where corruption reigns supreme on certain levels, don't you think it'll even reach a point, even if there are debates, that certain persons are going to get the questions ahead of time and they're going to have their people prepare the most perfect answer,
but they're still going to have to answer them.
Yeah, you're still going to have to answer, and you still have live debate moderators to follow up with you. So, for instance, let's take a talk show for example. There were some politicians who would not come on the show unless they understood beforehand what the topics would be, and there are some, not to say too much, but there were some institutions that would not come on the show unless they knew exactly what the questions were going to be. And in some cases, I would send them the questions and then they would decline to actually come on. But I don't have a problem telling people what direction we're going in. I don't have a problem talking about debate topics. I don't have a problem even explaining to you what some of the questions are. It's the fact that you come and actually answer these questions is what's important to the public, and the public has this sense of accountability from you. It just is a shame that we're not there.
But I think a part of it is that it is so... We culturally, we've grown to this place where it's so easy just to throw shade, and that's what politicians have become good at.
They become good at it, but politicians
just beating up the next guy as opposed to talking sense.
Correct. Some of them aren't good public speakers, but I could tell you this: a politician will go in their constituency and they will be challenged by voters. Maybe not all of them, and they'll have backup and they'll have their people there. But I've seen voters challenge politicians myself all the time. So it just escapes me why they won't get on a debate stage. I think part of it may be hubris. Part of it may be acrimony, that they don't feel as though they should be made to speak to this person or this person's not on their level. But really, ultimately, they should get over that and be accountable to the public.
Well, can I stick something in here? Seeing that you're a journalist, maybe a part of it is that the flavor of our journalism is a gotcha journalism.
Yeah.
So I get on stage and I say 99 sensible things, and I just say one thing that's a bit off, and that's the only thing that's going to be in the newspaper.
Well, we have another show where we talk about the state of journalism in the country, which we could do.
So some people are reluctant to face that crowd.
Yeah.
That they know it doesn't matter how much sense I talk tonight.
Right.
That one little slip up that I make, that's going to be on the front page.
Correct.
And so it scares some people.
Yeah. But if you're afraid to have the words that you say publicly tested, politics is not for you.
Yeah.
You should do something else.
Well, getting back to voter apathy, and particularly about regarding young persons, I mean, a lot of young persons, and I've discussed it with them, would say, well, all they've known is FNM, PLP, FNM, just flip-flopping. Mm-hmm. So isn't it hypocritical that one party would say, this isn't being done, they were just in power the last cycle, and they didn't do it?
Right, yeah.
So how can they be criticizing that this wasn't done when they had the opportunity to do everything that they're saying now? They did none of it.
Right.
So that's why I think a lot of voters.
A lot of young people say that.
And it's a lot of truth to it. But again, if you don't vote, you relinquish your power. So you've shown them over the past 25 years that when you get ready, you can clear them out. If you don't like the job that they're doing, they'll be gone. And they get that message, mind you. Now, they're relying on the fact that the guys coming after them will also do a poor job, but they'll get cleared out too. But you do have the power to affect them. It's a simple calculus. When a political party's machine is figuring out how to win a general election, constituency by constituency, they're doing a simple calculation. They're looking at the registered voters, and they're looking at the turnout in the last election, and they're trying to figure out how many people can I get to turn out again, how many new voters are there, can I get past the 50% mark. And the undecided voters for the past 5-6 elections have been the largest segment of the electorate.
Yes.
If those undecided voters decide that they're not going to show up, or you can dissuade them or beat them into submission to where they don't think their vote matters, then their calculation is all the more simple. I'm just going to count the people who I know support me, and they will come to vote regardless of what I do for them. And the calculation that a savvy and a jaded, unfortunately, politician would make is that you are just not going to come out to vote because you don't believe it's in your interest.
A veteran politician once told me that no matter what, 40% are going to go for the red, 40% are going to go for the blue and gold, and it's that 20% that you're trying to reach.
Right.
Unless that the present government is so horrible they just want to vote them out. So a lot of middle-aged and younger persons, all they know from Bahamian governance and governments is there's never been any good governance. It's either worse or worser. Which one is the lesser of the evils? And sometimes it's very difficult to determine which one that is. As I said, they're good and bad in both parties. We have a call coming in. Good evening. This is Urologist Speaks.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You know, I am one of those voters who are not going to vote, this time. I didn't vote last time, And the reason is that, I voted like 4 times. I voted twice for the PLP, once for the FNM, and once for the DNA. But with my age or my wisdom has taught me is that all of these parties are the same. All of their platforms are the same. And it's still the same today. It's like a diet. You eat just sugar, right? And your meal is not balanced, right?
Yes.
You're not going to be healthy.
So if I could ask you a question, is there nothing at all that would prompt you to say, I want to cast my vote for against a certain person? You've totally abandoned all of that?
Yes, because, I have family members, right? I'll say that my family members, right, they benefit more when the PLD's in power, right? It's because they're in that because they are their base. You understand me? They benefit more, when they benefit, the others don't benefit.
Okay.
You understand me? So that makes them like a gang. Or a group.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So even though my family benefit, I still don't see that. I don't think it's right for me to vote for them just because my family, they get the contracts. They are professionals. You understand me? You know what I'm saying? I have a sister that when the FNM was in power, they tried to work around them, and people, the international organizations that sponsored them said they had to go back to her because they asked her who's the person they should go to get a particular thing done, and they said she's the only one who could do it.
So what about your actual representative? Is there nothing attractive about the people who are offering to represent you?
See, not represent you, but to give you the thing that's going to benefit you because, if they do for everybody one, then everybody, that means that you won't get as much. So you're going to work for the person who's going to do more for you, who's going to do for you, knowing that they can do for you and still do for everybody else the things that they will do for you. You understand me? So how I look at it is, right? Okay. Like, for instance, in the U.S., right? In the U.S., you have the platforms are different. You know what I mean? When it comes to taxation, they're different. You see what I'm saying? Like one party believes in taxing the rich. You understand what I'm saying? And the other party is like, we look at tax breaks for the poor.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt. What if you woke up tomorrow and whatever demographic you're in, let's say they say that all persons over 60 can no longer vote. I'm sure you'd be the first one in the streets, and you wouldn't be the only one. What if they said that all women can vote, or whatever the circumstance?
See how I look at it, right? Is for government to be able to do for its people, right? They need money. Money can't do it without money. And suppose we can't do healthcare without money.
Yes.
The government needs money. So we not neither the government is taxing the economy really enough to get the money is necessary.
So
right?
tax
They all
reform
have
is
the
important
same,
to you.
They all have the same platform. Then and they're not all of them have the same policies when it comes to taxation. So therefore, it doesn't matter who's in power. You understand what I'm saying? You're gonna get the same results.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it don't matter if I vote PLPF on him. In fact, even the this new party, right? The coalition of independence, their tax policies are the same. And for me, money is taxation. The government can't do nothing for me if they don't tax. You see what I'm saying? And then when you talk about debate, right? It's hard for the politicians to debate when, let's say, if I ask the media to debate democratic socialism, right? Supposed to democratic capitalism, they won't debate it. So how could you ask the politician to debate something that you won't debate yourself? You know, when I follow shows in the United States, right? I mean, even Fox, they have a Republican or socialist on one, or left wing on one, and then they even if they have 4 right wing on the right on the right side, they still have a debate. You see what I'm saying? Until we need shows that in the media we need a media like you have what's his name McCartney then now, right? He should be able to relate to this. I think the law is when you bring something up, you should always have what you call it, the opposite. You should always like a debate in school. We learn to debate in school, but we don't debate in the media. You know, and they're supposed to be a debate, but it doesn't happen.
What do you think about local government? Don't you think that it's important that we institute local government on a grander scheme, even throughout New Providence, where the members of parliament are dealing with the actual national issues instead of what's happening within the community? Well, let's have persons have local government where most of the persons who are working and living in the same community have a vested interest in that community.
I have no problem with that, but the problem with local government will come up to is funding its money again. So when you have local, it's not impossible to have local government without a local government tax. Like in the UK, you know, they have a council tax.
Yes. You made some wonderful points, and I thank you very much for your call. Yeah, we need to change the way we look at elections. We need to think about the way we were taking for granted our right to vote. Mm-hmm. As you said, our grandparents or even our parents didn't always have that right. And if it's our God-given right in a democratic society to voice and have a role in determining the future of our country, it's not the perfect system in terms of voting for a member of parliament and whoever wins the most seats, the leader is the prime minister of the country. But there are pros and cons to this society and the way we govern, and the republic in the United States also has its flaws as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I have a question. Given that we are pretty much a homogenous society, we really are. We're small. 400,000 people ain't. That's not a lot. That's not a big number. And when you say 400,000, you really have to be real. Given that a lot of that number are kids, and some of it's old people. So the operational part of our population is maybe 200,000. Let's say that. And we are homogenous. Is it perhaps stretching it a bit to expect us to have the polarization of ideas in such an homogenous society where we're going to have one political party that's going to be over here doing this and the next one over there doing something completely different? I think we end up with similarities because on the ground we are similar. And we're going to have to force, and our politicians are actually trying to force themselves, pretend to be different, when they can't be different because we're not different among ourselves.
Well, also, first of all, I would say this because I hear that argument a lot, that there's nothing worth voting for, and it's the two particular parties. So if you can't identify something nationally that's attractive to you or that you can latch onto, try to identify something constituency-wide. If you can't identify something in the constituency, try to identify something in your neighborhood. If you can't identify something in your neighborhood, try to identify something on your street. Eventually, somebody will come to your door or your yard or your gate and will ask you for their vote. And at that particular time is your time to actually see if something is attractive about that person and their ideas and what they could propose for you, or if there's something that you find that you are particularly against. And at the very least, let that thing inform your vote. But do not, would be my advice, relinquish your right to vote. Because as Dr. Pinto said, if they came tomorrow and said, you no longer have it, there would be a cry.
Good evening. We have another call coming. This urologist speaks. Go ahead, sir, or madam.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Pinto.
Good afternoon, sir.
Juan McCartney, how you doing, sir?
I'm
Nice
great.
to hear your voice on radio again.
Thanks so much. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, that has been the longest exchange with someone who will not be participating and voting in the world. But be it as it may, yeah, we have a serious voter apathy. But what do you think created this problem?
The political parties.
Are disinterested in the most lucrative job on the planet, in the Bahamas, that is.
If people aren't interested in taking part in the political process, it's because political parties have not generated that sort of interest. They knew that was their job for decades and decades and generations. They understand that's their job. They know if people aren't coming to vote, that's a function of them not doing their job properly.
But you're right, Juan. But you know, the thing about it is I got to blame media, too. Media should be held accountable for this low voter apathy because a lot of people don't understand the system and how it works. Like I hear people, PLP and FRM, same thing. How could you say that statement and expect an intelligent discourse? Because that is not the case. These parties are controlled by leaders. The leaders set the agenda, not the acronyms, not letters. The leaders, and we don't even have a national development plan, so they could wake up on a frenzy and make stupid ideas, dumb things and cause people not to participate. Then you have this thing going into the silly season now. We may be the last country left on the planet who do engage in political live debate. We have rallies, we have music, they dance. I mean, imagine, we've been advocating now for years, at least I have, along with some others, for political live debate. All you're doing is you want to see whether these people can think critically on their feet, whether they can discuss the socioeconomic issues relative to the area that they want to represent.
Right.
I mean,
can I sleep at night? Can I be comfortable that you're going to do what you're supposed to do if I vote for you? Right. Yeah.
But right now, as this silly season develops, or these type of discussions, which I'm sure talk show hosts spend a lot of time putting together to bring these intelligent debates. But at the end of the day, all of this is going to get lost in the rubble and move aside for the rallies where they be cracking jokes, dancing. I mean, imagine politicians introducing dance and song as part of the election process, but don't want to engage in debate.
Well, that's what we got.
We have to be the most idiotic country on the planet.
Well, it's just a function of media. The media does have a role to play in that. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I mean, one.
I'd say this to you though.
Every working class Bahamian should be angry.
Let me say this.
When we apply for a job, we have to bring our best to the table. We can't come with no song and dance. I mean, dance. You want to see whether or not this person is fit and ready to fill this vacancy that you have existing in your company. And it could be an asset, a proven asset. But the dancing.
So what about this idea? A community leader, a group of community leaders rallies their constituents and demands debate. Okay, the debate is going to be on such and such a date, and if you don't show up, then you reap the consequences.
But, I mean, we could do this thing and force them, but I mean, okay, when you go in the House of Assembly and the Speaker needs to be held accountable to one, so if you need to look into this because the Speaker is defying the rules. All speakers because the rules of the House state that you must debate, not give speeches. This is why you see politicians falling asleep in the House of Assembly while someone is giving this long monotonous speech, because you're not engaging in you're not debating these things out. If you bring a very important bill to Parliament, they talk about their birthday anniversary for their constituent. They talk about all these other things, and they say, I support the bill. You don't even know the context of the bill.
Understood, yeah. But Parliament governs itself, just to be clear. IRCA doesn't control how Parliament functions.
I mean, but the Speaker, the Speaker is defying the rules. She allowed them to give speeches when they should be giving intelligent debate and discourse. And I don't know what it's going to take, but every year go by, we give these people the most important job in the country, and we don't know exactly who they are and what they stand for. We don't know anything about them. We find out that the MPs can't have to be voted for them. They don't know that 1 million has 6 zeros. I mean, it's these are the things, and then they have to go in there and engage in serious discussions with other world leaders who are as sharp as a razor. That's why dog always eating our lunch. We get the worst deals. We get the worst deals, and we still haven't had any serious leaders who are able to make it into the world stage and make an impact. Just here trying to manage. And then the sad reality is you have a governor in Florida, even though they have different layers of government, but the governor in Florida is responsible for over 30 million people. We are politicians who can't manage 5,000 people. They say that's too much. What are we doing?
Wonderful points. But this is an apolitical show. We're here talking about voter apathy because it's a fundamental issue that's affecting the future of our country. Let's hear your closing remarks, Dr. Ian Fernandez.
Well, I want to talk about something that I haven't heard spoken about, at least the way I'm going to talk about it. I keep hearing this thing about political parties being the same. And one, I ask the question, so what? Because we are homogenous as people. We don't have, terribly differing ideologies between us. Secondly, I don't know that that's really true, because even if you take political party X and you look at the iterations of those parties under different leaders, and you take one party, I won't call any names, but Party A is different in this iteration than it was when it was in power 10 years ago.
Listen,
when it was in power, whatever. It's not even it's not the same party. So the parties are changing.
If we had the same agenda, we'd be in the same party. You understand what I'm saying? So okay, let's take, for example, the church. We're all worshiping the same God. I'm not on the same type of timing as the Catholics, as an Anglican. The Baptists aren't on the same type of timing as the Anglicans, and the Church of God of Prophecy is not on the same type of timing as the Baptist. But we're all worshiping the same God.
And you're looking for different members. As well.
Right. Okay. So we don't have the same agenda. We're not the same. We may have the same goals. We may all believe in a theocratic sort of democratic system, but we don't all have the same agenda. So it sounds good to say that all political parties are the same. But they're not.
So any closing few remarks, Mr. Juan McCartney?
Well, since we talk so much about voting, I would just encourage people to vote. I know...
Your vote matters, of course.
Your vote matters. Don't give it up. You talked about brain drain, and we didn't get into that, right? So,
as I said at the beginning of the show, this is episode 1 of Juan McCartney.
Well, we'll see what my wife says about that. But unless you plan on going somewhere and staying there, you're going to have to work with what you got. And it would be in your best interest to actually take control of your right to vote and actually show people that, listen, I do have a stake in this, I do have something to say, and I have some control over this, and get as many like-minded people together on that as you can. If you relate, the people who do understand how the system works and who do understand how power operates, they're going to take advantage of your apathy.
And young people have to realize that this country belongs to them.
Correct.
Way more than anybody who's 50, 60.
This is your country, and eventually you will have to. If you are not If you don't feel as though you have any stake in the country, the next time you go to the store, just look on the receipt. All right? You are taxed every single day in this country. You are taxed when you go to the bank. You are taxed if you buy a home. You are taxed when you own a home. You are taxed when you go to the doctor, as Dr. Pinto could attest to you. Those taxes go to fund the government. There are people who are controlling that money and are controlling what happens with the direction of your country. So you may not think that you have some stake in it, but voting is the only way that you can be a public citizen and not be involved directly in the frontline politics and have some sort of say in what actually happens.
Well, please register to vote, Bahamas, if not for yourself, but for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, for the future of this country. So not only register to vote, please actually show up and vote. That's your democratic right. And if you love your country, and I'm sure you do, that's something that you cannot throw to the sideline and say, you know what, I don't care what happens. Our future is doomed. Let's have more bright